Sports.
Live from Lubbock, Texas, it's the Pete Souza Show. What's going on, everybody? Yeah, we are live in Lubbock, Texas, and we are stoked you're with us again today. I got a Texas Tech Oral Roberts game tonight at United Supermarkets Arena with the great King McClure. Not only is King our teammate at Rogue, he's also my teammate at ESPN and also with the Big 12. Fired up for that one. Maybe we'll sprinkle in a little bit about that as the show goes on, but wanted to start off with a couple items NFL related. Cowboys, Bill Belichick, and NFL adjacent and soon to be NFL impactful. Travis Hunter winning the Heisman. Let's start with the Cowboys. A convincing win. Oh, by the way, thanks to Slovacek's, Crawford Austin Properties, First National Bank of Central Texas, the whole gang, and you can't forget D1 Daniel Stark and Sikora Family Ford. I don't have my big screen behind me, so I can't just rely on that. I got to pick it up myself. But to start off with the NFL, the Cowboys, like I mentioned, their big win against the Panthers. And this situation now, I'm always like one of those folks who lays back. I never call for people's jobs. When people are having their jobs called for, I try to take a beat and see, like, does this make sense? Because I think a lot of times we have no clue what we're talking about as fans. Even folks that can be in the organization, you still don't understand everything that goes into a head coach's job description and just all the checks, the balances, and all that stuff. And we've been hearing more and more about it over the past 2 weeks or a week specifically when folks are talking about Bill Belichick taking over for North Carolina and, the potential that he would have taken over for an NFL team and just how good he is at managing organizations and, in this case, a program. I think we forget about all the details and just all the pressure and all the responsibility that comes with being a head coach. So I try to keep the most open mind possible. However, with the Cowboys, as we get down the stretch and they get better, my outlook on Mike McCarthy actually gets worse. And here's why. It comes down to one player and one player only. Rico Dowdle. He has been playing very well the past 4 games. And the reason he's been playing well is because he's been given an opportunity by the head coach and the offensive coordinator to run the ball. Let me look at it. I have it written down here. Let me go to the notes. So the Cowboys have won 3 of their last 4. They certainly could have won 4 of their last 4. They blew it against the Bengals last Monday night, and it was because of a special teams error and certainly a situation that the Cowboys could have won that football game. So they could have won 4 of their last 4, and we could be sitting here talking about them with an outside chance at making the playoffs. I think if you still get really deep into the numbers, they probably are still alive and well this morning. In fact, I know they are at a chance to get in the playoffs, although it's a crazy long shot, right? So the Cowboys have won 3 of the last 4, and a huge reason why. So against the Redskins, right? Rico Dowdle gets 19 carries, runs for 86 yards. Anytime he gets like around 20 carries, they win the game. Game after that, 131 yards on 20-something carries. Then 112 yards. That was another win. And then 149 yards against the Panthers. The 131 he had against the Bengals, that was in a losing effort. But the Cowboys had not shown any commitment to Dowdle and the running game up until the past 4 games, unless you want to factor in a win on the road in Pittsburgh on a Sunday night all the way back in September, early October, when they gave the ball to Dowdle 20 times and he had 86 yards. It's not even so much the effectiveness. I mean, of course, it's the effectiveness and the ability to gain yards. But it's the commitment to that balance and to your offense running the football. So here's the issue with Mike McCarthy. It's like I heard Ed Werder talk to Matt Mosley about this weeks ago on the Doomsday podcast. And man, when you talk about Werder and Mosley, again, I really respect those guys because they're sourced up and they watch every game, every play of every game, and they're dialed in to what's going on at the Star in Frisco, the Cowboys facility. So when Ed Werder says, I've covered Mike McCarthy all the way back to his time at Green Bay, and Mike McCarthy loves to talk about a dedication to the run, but he really doesn't have a dedication to the run. He wants to, but eventually he'll start throwing the football. Well, clearly down the stretch, I don't know if it has been, hey, I believe Mike McCarthy has a chance to keep his job. I believe he believes he has a chance to keep his job. And so, like, with the ultimate pressure coming down on him, it's time to button up. And clearly, without Dak Prescott, too, right? You have a featured component of your offense that you've gotten away from all season long that you can go to now. And by doing that, you're taking pressure off your defense. You're keeping them off the field. They're now able to play better. The Cowboys early in the year, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That was always the situation. Now they're down. Now they're trying to put together some crazy comeback. And some of those losses early in the year weren't even quite as bad as they seemed because the Cowboys would make some wild comeback that meant nothing but fantasy points and covering spreads. Now it's a Cowboys team that is like playing good football. The game they played against the Panthers yesterday was the most complete game they've played all year long. Now, granted, the Panthers are not very good, but that's what you need to do against not very good teams, right? You show up, you grind it out, and at the end of the game, you win by 2 scores. Like, that's the kind of team we thought the Cowboys were going to have going into this season. So the Cowboys are on a bit of a roll. Again, I've said it before, almost to their own detriment, winning 3 out of 4. And now you see, okay, now they play the Buccaneers. That's another game that they could win, especially if this new look Cowboys team keeps it on the ground, keeps it close. We could be looking at another good game and possibly another win for Dallas coming up here this weekend. And back to my original point, if Mike McCarthy couldn't see this at the beginning of the season, if he couldn't see it when the team was starting to slide a couple games into the season, then he probably does. I don't know. I can't even bring myself to say it, but it could be time for a change, right? Because clearly he was sitting on the answer to all the issues and he didn't get it or get to it till it was just completely desperate. And that's to the detriment of the Cowboys. And ultimately it's a detriment to the fan base. Let's remember, like, these teams are like public trusts. I always say that. My man Murph from Philly, one of my best buddies, says that, like, if you're an owner, yeah, it's fine. Like, you do what you want. It's your team. But at the end of the day, like, you do represent the greater good of a whole community, city, area, state, sometimes area of the country. So there is a greater responsibility that comes with these owners. And Cowboys fans are bummed. They've been bummed all season long. And if you're the Cowboys fans, they're all over the country. Even I was listening to Brad Sham in his radio call. Boy, Brad Sham was Cooper Rush committed that fumble right before the half. And I think Brad, we'll put that to voicemail. By the way, so this is a restaurant I went to in Louisville, Texas with Christy on Thursday night. This is the 3rd time they've called me. They want feedback on how our dinner went. And we've gone there before. I'll mention the place, 1845. It's awesome. But they always call to see how they did. Like, I'll call you if it was a bad experience, okay? I appreciate it. This is now the 3rd time they've called. And what is it, 8 in the morning? What are we doing here? This is being taped, by the way, because I got to go to shoot around a little bit. But anyways, 1845, great job. Maybe if you watch this, you'll know. So you probably will never know. But back to my point about Brad Sham, he was so frustrated with Cooper Rush and some of the decision-making that he that he exhibited down the stretch with that fumble. That fumble actually turned into a touchdown for the Panthers and made the game much closer than it should have been going into halftime. But ultimately, everything sorted itself out. Cooper Rush had 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Another quarterback to talk about. I got to pull this up because these numbers are just flat out insanity. Lamar Jackson yesterday, right? They beat up on who else? The Giants. By the way, sometimes these quarterback numbers are inflated because the teams they're playing against are just awful. So yesterday, Lamar, 290 yards throwing the football, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He is so good, and I'm so pulling for him to turn the corner in the playoffs this season. And I want to see that happen for this dude. I just love the way he plays. I love his effort. I love his attitude. He's hardcore. And I want to see Lamar Jackson succeed. I do. My brother calls him Lamb Jack. I'm pulling for Lamb Jack. one other NFL note. There's a couple other NFL things, but I'll get to them in the order of importance, or at least what I view as importance. And here you go. These are my importance levels. God, the Seattle Seahawks. What were they wearing last night? Who are those uniforms for? I don't know. Like, is the fan base that hard up that they have to, or is the organization that hard up that they have to have like uniforms like that to like bring up sales for kids around Christmas time? Are they the Oregon Ducks circa 2009 or 2007, and they're trying to get kids to commit to the program and go play because of their uniforms? The Seattle Seahawks, the reason I bring this up is because earlier in the season, they lost on Thursday Night Football, but they wore those old school unis, the Steve Largent, Dave Craig, Kurt Warner, the real Kurt Warner. Those uniforms were just the best. And they wore them on a Thursday night. And I feel like it's almost like the Jets this season, as bad as they suck. One thing that makes them like a little less of an eyesore is that they're wearing those jerseys from the 80s and 90s. That jersey makeup. But yeah, the Seahawks uniforms, if you saw the game last night, you know what I'm talking about. And maybe we can get some video up here. But it is like, they were like highlighters, those yellow highlighters. And it's as a fan, it's like, I guess I'm getting old, but I'm like, why are they wearing these? So that like kind of hijacks my mind. And then I'm pulling for him to come back. And then Sam Howell's in the game, and there's no chance they're going to come back. And he just throws an interception so down the stretch. One football anecdote just from me as like a guy who thinks they know a little bit about the game. Green Bay is trying to salt the game away. They're up, I think, by 10 in the fourth quarter with like 6 minutes left. It's 4th and 2. And they've got Josh Jacobs running the football. He's doing a hell of a job. And Matt LaFleur, offensive genius, who knows, has forgotten a million times more football than I'll ever know. On 4th and 2, lines up Jacobs next to Love in a shotgun formation. So 4th and 2, shotgun formation. You take the ball. So you're already 3, maybe 5, 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You take the snap and you hand it to Josh Jacobs. Like, to me, this just doesn't make a sense mathematically, or if you want to bring physics into it, another thing it's over my head. I think that's so simple. Why do you start a guy 4 yards deep in the backfield with a defense that's pinning its ears back and knows it's fourth or die, right? So like, you're going to give the guy the ball 4 yards deep in the backfield or 3 yards deep. Like, I know the play design is way over my head and there's so much more going on there, but I that is one thing where I can step in and be like, nope, I'm right about this. That was stupid. And I was right. I'm right about that. Like, Matt LaFleur, again, like genius, whatever. Amazing coach. That was wrong on so many levels, in my opinion. So that was one NFL anecdote. We'll get to Bill Belichick here. I want to switch over to one other topic that a lot of people are talking about over the past, like a little bit of scuttlebutt about the NBA and the ratings. So the NBA's ratings are down, right? And the numbers are, I think they're down 4% over the last year. And then they're down 4%. Let me get this right. Let me look this up. NBA ratings down 4% over the past, I guess, year. Hang on, I gotta get this right. Let's give us 1 second here, okay? Please forgive me, all right? So here we go. I apologize for that. Okay, here we go. Viewership for the tournament, the midseason tournament, is down 10% compared to last season. Overall, ratings are down 4% in the last 12 years. And like I just mentioned, so NBA ratings are down 4% in the last 12 years, and they've fallen off a cliff this past year. Okay. And people are trying to figure out, well, why is this? Is it politics? Everybody loves to throw politics in there. The NBA, go woke, go broke, you know? Um, yeah, maybe there's something to that, but like that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the fact that the NBA is not that fun to watch, um, and the players are just not that relatable anymore. And those two things, more than anything, I think there are fringe sects of society that will, I'm not watching ESPN, like, oh, they're too woke. Like, okay, like, got it. Like, but I'm telling you, the people that are that hardcore about it, in my experience, don't make up like a huge part of the pot. Um, I think that overall, it's too expensive to go to games, and it's too disappointing to spend a lot of money and then go to a game and see a star not play. And then if you actually do get a game, I was talking to an NBA player, a former NBA player, a couple of days ago, and this player was sitting courtside at a game recently, and it was like, man, it's rough to watch. You know, it's a December game, and guys are like robots in a sense where everybody runs down to a certain spot on the floor and shoots a three, or they go to the basket where there's very little defense being played. There's no such thing as a mid-range jumper anymore, like at all. And the mathematics and the analytics have taken over. And I'm not here to tell you that that's not an efficient way to win basketball games. I don't even know enough um, to weigh in on that. I can tell you that it's not fun to watch until the playoffs come and guys are really ratcheting it up. But the reason people aren't watching NBA games is because they're not that fun to watch right now. And also, the players are not relatable. When you see how much money they make, which is awesome, they deserve it, dude. They can, like, if you can do something that nobody else in the world can do, and the demand is there for you to do it, like, sorry, like, that's capitalism in a sense. Like, get as much as you can for honing in on your superpower. And, you know, if you're Tom Cruise, who's going to do Mission Impossible 30, and there's only one person that can open that movie and be with his name above the title, you know, and make it billions of dollars maybe at this point, or hundreds of millions, it's Tom Cruise, right? He opens that movie. Like, not Pete Souza. They could put me in Mission Impossible. A couple people might go just to see how bad and screwed up it is. But like Tom Cruise will open that movie and make a ton of money. If you know LeBron James is on the Lakers roster or another team in the NBA, season tickets are going to sell out. Everything around the team is going to, all the money is going to be printing itself. And it's just a financially beneficial decision. So that's any decisions, any questions you have, the answer is always money, right? You know, with all that being said, it doesn't mean that we have to buy in to the overall day to day. That's just not that fun. So basketball is in like a weird spot, and I think like over the next like 72 hours, maybe even a couple weeks, like I would brace for a couple like suckers like me that have shows like this to really like, oh, the NBA is going away, it's over. Like, no, it's not happening. The NBA is alive and very well. They're making a lot of money, and this will pass. This will cycle through. I can remember, I mean, now we're talking 30 years ago, maybe a little less, but when I was in high school, I remember looking at a cover of the Sports Illustrated. There was a Jets player. I forget what he was doing, but he was like on a knee maybe or something, and it was, you know, can the NBA or can the NFL be fixed? You know, the NFL was on life support, you know, according to this article in Sports Illustrated, which at the time was like the most important piece of sports journalism and sports journalism outlet in the world. So that was a situation where, yeah, the NFL was in trouble, right? No, it wasn't actually. I mean, they had to make some changes, and I can't even take you inside all the things that they did differently. But sure, there are some tune-up types things that Adam Silver and the NBA can figure out. But like, by no means is the thing ready to shut down. I can promise you that. But there's a reason why people feel a little disconnected with the league and the players. And when you talk about football, there's like a 180 there. Like with football, you know, you watch the sport, and it's like, whoa, like these guys, they're gladiators to their own detriment, right? But the physicality and the blue collar nature of the sport is way more relatable for most of the people in America. The fact that those guys don't miss any games, and of course the number of games there's something to be said for that. But again, these are like little wrinkles that the NBA has no control over, or maybe they do, getting their players to play. But when you're talking about 82 games as opposed to 17, these guys, football guys, don't miss games. You got to literally like hold them hostage to get them to miss games, right? If they feel well enough. But if you're not medically cleared, you can't play. Basketball, it's like, hey, I'm going to sit out tonight because they're going to need me in May. But football, it's just more relatable. And it's also the players in the NBA have become sort of too curated. And maybe this is athletes overall, but I really get this feeling from the NBA. And there's different avenues now where these guys can voice their feelings, and they don't need the media as much as they used to. And we're all still feeling our way through that, right? But they don't need to sit down and get worked over by an interviewer and kind of like gotcha or shocked. They can do all their own media. And if certain guys like a Draymond Green or like an Ant-Man in Minnesota, if they want to, those guys are great, right? Anthony Edwards is like he's like a quote machine, and he seems like one of the coolest guys in the league. I was on an elevator with him in Atlanta when I was out to do that Kai Cenat tournament, and hey, he seemed like a great guy. Whatever, he was standing next to me on an elevator, but I got good vibes. So but guys like that are few and far between now. Everybody else just is very careful about how they're presented to the rest of us, and I think to a point where it kind of hurts the relatability of the sport of basketball. So I think football is way more relatable. And I think guys don't miss. And I think it's way more fun to watch during the regular season, and certainly in the playoffs. Basketball is it's a different animal. And they're kind of finding their way through some of that stuff. We're going to step aside now. We got a couple more things to tackle on this show. And we're going to come back. We're efforting Cam Stewart for the last segment, and we'll let you know how that goes. But the Pete Souza Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, we're stepping aside. We're going to come back with a little bit of Bill Belichick talk. We're giving Tom Brady a late season grade. And we're having fun from Lubbock, Texas today. Stay with us.